Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm sorry, I was in another meeting till 11:30. I joined late. Okay. Okay. Yesterday, we were discussing how to delete an element from the stack. What are the different ways of doing it? We understood how to use the pop function, how to use the delete function, and then how to use the remove function. Okay. Using remove also you can go for deleting, okay, the element from the list. The differences you should know. So pop will take index as argument, delete, and if you don't pass any index to the pop, it will always delete from the top of the list or the right end of the list. Delete and pop also returns. Okay, so delete will not return anything, and using delete even you can go for deleting multiple elements from the list because it supports the concept of slicing. And remove will not work with the index. So if you want to delete an element from the list using index, using remove, it is not possible. So you can remove from the remove function only if you know the item which you want to delete. And then apart from this, we also understood functions, that are supported on the list. Append, we understood how to append a single element into the list, existing list, and then we understood how to extend one list with the other list by using the extend method, and then short method. Okay, and then we understood that indexing or slicing is supported by the lists also. Okay, so now we'll continue with lists and functions. Okay, there are a number of built-in functions that can be used on list that allow you to quickly look through a list without writing your own loops. Okay, say for example, I want to find the length of the list, so I don't have to write my own function or method in order to find the length of the list. So using the built-in functions you can easily do it. Say print length of nums 6. Say in case I want to find the maximum element in my list, I don't have to write my own function and loop through each element and check what is the maximum one. So you can immediately find it by passing the entire list as an argument to max method. Okay, I'll open this also. It will take some time to open. Okay, so this is what you can find the max. And similarly you can also go for finding the minimum element, and say I want to find the sum of all the elements in the list. So what we used to do earlier, we used to write a function, and inside that function we used to write a loop and iterate over each element of the list, and then we used to sum, correct? It's called as rolling computation. Okay, find the sum, and then the current result will become the input for the next iteration. Correct? This is what we used to do. But all these things in Python, so there are many built-in functions which you can use on the list, and you don't have to write your own function or your own looping constructs in order to do something. Okay, so majority of the things you can do by using the built-in functions. Okay, so these are the examples here. So some functions, so only we understood here sum I showed, minimum, maximum, all these things. But some function, okay, the function what you're seeing here, it works only when the list elements are numbers. Okay, so other functions, say for example max and length, they work with any type. So they work even on the integers, they work even on the floating points, they work even on the strings also. Okay, any other type that can be comparable. Okay, but sum, it works only with the list whose elements are numbers. It may be an integer numbers or the floating point numbers, it works, but for strings it will not work. And we could rewrite an earlier program that computed the average of the list of numbers entered by the user using a list. See, I don't know whether you people remember or not, remember or not. So earlier we wrote the program for finding the sum and then finding the average also, and again we use the concept of list. So we wrote a looping construct, iterated over every element of the list, found the sum, and then we found the average. So now the same thing can be done very simple, something like this: print sum of pass the list as argument to the sum divided by length of list. Okay, so this one line it is done, but earlier when we wrote, it was around 6 to 7 lines of code what we had written. Now that 6 to 7 lines of code is just reduced to one line of code now. Okay, so that is what the advantage and also the beauty of the Python programming language. Okay, so the first program to compute an average without a list. Okay, so this one. Okay, what we are doing here, without using the list, we are trying to compute the average. So just have a look into this program. I have taken two variables. So total I have initialized to 0, count is also initialized to 0, and while true, running an infinite loop, reading a number from the keyboard using the input function. So it gets assigned to INP. I am just checking whether what I have read from the keyboard is equal to done. If it is equal to done, I break from the infinite loop. I break out from the infinite while loop. So otherwise, if I am not read done from the keyboard, I'll go for converting the input that is read from the keyboard into float and assign it to value, finding the total here. Simultaneously, I'm also finding the count of the elements which I read from the keyboard. So finally, outside the while loop, I'm just finding the average and printing it. So this is what we are doing even without using the list also. So we have not used any list here. We are dynamically reading the inputs from the keyboard until we type done, and then computing the average and the count. Okay, it got opened. So this one. Now this whole thing, I think the next program is based on the list. Okay. So we could simply remember each number as the user entered it and use the built-in functions to compute the sum and count at the end. So this is another way of doing it. So what I'm doing now, see the previous example, so there was no list created. So we read the inputs from the keyboard dynamically, and then we computed the sum and also counted the number of elements, and then we computed the average. So but in this example, we are creating an empty list with the name numList. Okay, I'm using the other way of doing it. So numList is equal to open big bracket and close big bracket. So this way also you can do it. So otherwise numList is equal to list open parenthesis and close parenthesis. This is another way of creating an empty list. Now again, as usual, we are running an infinite loop while true, reading a number from the keyboard, and then I'm checking whether the number that is read from the keyboard is equal to done. If so, I break this infinite loop, and then if I'm not reading done from the keyboard, I convert it into float, assign it to value, and now I'm making use of the append function. So every time I read something from the keyboard, and if it is not done, I'm adding it to the number list. Okay, and finally, so average is equal to, this is what I'm doing. So sum of the num list, because it gets every time I read a value from the keyboard, it gets appended to the number list, and then I'm finding the sum of all the elements in the number list by using the built-in function sum, and dividing it by the total number of elements by using the built-in function len, and finally printing the average. If you want, you can also go for printing the total number of elements and the sum of the number list. So two examples are done now, one without using the list and one with using the list. Okay, so now these two, so observe the complexity of this program and observe the complexity of this program, and this thing can be simply done by this statement. You take the list and just write this statement. Here you have the average. Okay, so we'll just execute these things now in the interactive Python console. So this is the list which we have taken now, nums, and now I want to find the length. So length of this list is 6, and similarly I want to find the maximum of this list. Print max of nums. So maximum is 74, and similarly you can find the minimum. Print minimum of nums. So minimum in the list. You can find the sum also, sum of nums. So 154. Okay. Now print sum of nums divided by length of nums. So average also you got it. Okay. Now I don't want this fractional part to be printed, then use double slash. So only 25. Okay, the fractional part is skipped. Okay. Now we'll try to use max on a list which is not integer. I'll take something else here. I'll take A, I'll take B, I'll take C, I'll take D, I'll take E, I'll take F. So print max of nums. So F is the max, and similarly minimum is A. It goes with the ASCII values of those characters. So but you cannot find sum of but nums is a string list now. So it says unsupported type. Okay, unsupported operand types. So this will not work. Now similarly this program will just execute this. Okay. Now it will ask me to enter a number 10. So it keeps reading the numbers like this, and every time it is reading and it is computing the average. 30, so 40. So it repeats like this, reading as until I give done from the keyboard. Okay, so I'm done, and now it is giving me the average 25.0. Okay, when I say done, it will come out of the infinite while loop. This is one way. So the other way, so we didn't create, we read the numbers from the keyboard and we didn't store them into the list. But in the next example, here, we're creating an empty list and storing into that. Okay, so enter the number. Oh sorry, I have entered an invalid number now. I'll get error. So let me say done. Okay. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Okay. Now done. So you have the average. Now here, if you want, you can also go for displaying the list also. Okay. just after this, print list is equal to comma num list. Ten, 20, 30, 40, 50, enough. Done. Okay. So list is this and its average is this. Next is lists and strings. Okay. So string is a sequence of characters and the list is a sequence of values. So when I say values, it could be character values, it could be floating point values or integer values or mixture of any of these types. Okay. So but a list of characters is not same as strings. So to convert from string to a list of characters, we can use the list, something like this. Say for example, this is a string. Okay. So this is a string. Now I want to convert the string into a list. Now how to do? So t is equal to, it's a list. All this time we were writing list without passing any argument. So because if I ask you to create an empty list now, what you'll do, t is equal to list, open parenthesis and close parenthesis. It will create an empty list for you. Now I want to convert the string, so spam, S-P-A-M, to a list. Now what is that I have to do? So this S is holding the string now, and this S I'm passing here, list of this S. So and then print t. So t is a list of strings. This is string and this is list of string. Hope people understood. So you can convert easily any string into a list, something like this. Okay. So we'll do this. Okay. So S is equal to, so my own name. So this is a string now. Now I want to convert this into a list. L is equal to list of yes. Okay. Now print L. So you have the string converted to list of characters, you can say, or list of strings also you can say. Anything is fine. Okay. So list function breaks a string into individual letters. That is what it did. So if you want to break a string into words, you can use the split method. Say for example, so this was one word string. If you have multiple word strings and if you want to split this multiple word string into a list of words by using space as the delimiter, then you can go for using the split function. How? Like this. So this is this string what I have. So I am using s dot. So the split function can be called on the strings. Okay. So s dot split, I am calling the split function on the string which is present inside the variable s. And what is the delimiter? If you don't pass anything as argument to split, okay, if you're not passing anything, by default it will take space as the delimiter. Now using spaces as the delimiter, the string is split into number of words. Okay. We'll do this. So this is the string now what we have assigned to s. Next I am calling split function on this string. If you write s dot split, you are calling split function on s. Okay, and there is no argument passed to this. That means it will use space as the delimiter by default. So now print t. So it is a list of words. You have your string converted into list of words. And similarly, once you do that, you can go for accessing any of the word. Okay, so print, say I want to access the first word t of 0. Make use of the slicing or indexing concept. So it will give you the first word from the list. So similarly, so last word -1. So last word it will give, and then so last but 2 -2 the, okay, like this. So you can go for using the concept of slicing or indexing, and you can extract whatever word you want from the list. And if you want to delete, you can delete, or if you want to remove, you can remove, or if you want to pop, you can pop it. So if I call t dot pop, okay, it will remove the last word from the t. Okay, this is removed, and then I can display. Okay, last word is removed. Next, so you understood by default what split function will do is, if you're not passing anything, it will take space as the delimiter, and using space as the delimiter, it will split the given string into number of words. Now you can also specify the delimiter. So this example is using a different delimiter. Say for example, this is my string, and you can observe there are all these words are separated by hyphens. Now I want to split this string using this hyphen as the delimiter. Okay, this is the string which I am assigning. To the variable delimiter, I am assigning this delimiting character itself. Now s dot split, I am passing delimiter. What is the delimiter? Hyphen. So this string yes will be split into the words using hyphen as the delimiter. So this any delimiter character you can specify. So we'll perform the execution of this. So this is my string, and then I have the delimiter. I'm specifying the delimiter here to assigning this delimiter to the variable delimiter itself, and then splitting based on hyphen delimiter. Okay, done. So you can also specify directly. Say for example, s is equal to a different string. So Bangalore Institute of Technology. Now I want to split this s dot, okay, sorry, let me add my own delimiting character. Say for example, star. This is done now. Now I'll say s dot split. You can directly give the delimiting character here. It's not like you have to pass only the variable. So even the directly the delimiting character can be written here. Now it is split using star as the delimiting character. Hope you are following.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next. Next, till now you understood how to split a given string into list of words. Now the reverse we are trying to do. Join is the reverse of split. It takes a list of strings and concatenates the elements and builds a string for you. So join is a string method. So you have to invoke it on the delimiter and pass the list as the parameter. Observe now. So this is my list of words now, and I want to join all this list of words using space as the delimiter. Okay. Now the join, observe now, the method we are invoking it using on the delimiter, and we are passing t as the argument to it. What is this t? T is the list. So T is being passed as the argument to join, but the join method is invoked on the delimiting character. Okay, once I do that, see, my list of words is converted into the strings. Okay. And all these things are very much useful, correct, no? When you're doing with dealing with natural language processing, okay, NLP. So all these methods what we are discussing now, so they are really useful in the NLP, natural language processing. So we'll just do this, converting the list of words into the strings, and you can use any delimiter. And what you have to remember, what is important is join is invoked on the delimiting character. Okay. What about split? Split is invoked on this string, but join is invoked on the delimiting character. Remember that. Okay, I have this list now, and this is what the delimiter I want to use. Space is the delimiter for me, and then I want to join all the list of words using space as the delimiter. How I do that? Delimiting character dot join and pass the list. It is done, and I have the list, string printed for me. Now I just want to change the delimiting character. I don't want to join all these words using space as the delimiter. I want something else. Okay. Now what I'll do, say I want star as the delimiting character, dot join. You can directly call like this, T. Now all my list of words are joined using star as the delimiting character. So hope you understood till here.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any delimiting character. So I want to use hyphen as the delimiting character. Dot join T. So using hyphen as the delimiting character, all the list of words are joined and they are printed in the form of a string. We'll go to the next one. So now parsing the lines. This is what I told. So all the functions what we are discussing here, you'll find them really useful when you're doing the natural language processing. Okay. So parsing the line. Say I want to find some interesting lines, and then parse the line to find some interesting part of the line. Okay. So what if I want to print out the day of a week from the lines which are something like this? So this is some line, or you can say this is subject. I think this is a part of the mail, correct? No? So I have this. So the mail was received from so and so ID on Saturday, Jan 5th. Okay, and this is the time and this is the year. So I am interested in knowing the day of the week, correct? No? From this line. Now what is that I have to do? So split method is very effective, which faced with this kind of problem. When faced with this kind of problem, first thing, say for example I want to extract Saturday, day of the week. What is that I have to do? So the given line I have to split it into words. Okay. So we can write a small program that looks for the line which starts with from. Say for example, first you got to identify the lines which are starting with from, and the rest all I have to ignore, because only those lines which are starting with from have the day of the week. Okay, I got to focus only on such lines. First thing what I have to do is, so I got to split, and then I got to focus on those lines which are starting with from, and split those lines into words and compare, split them into words. You get the list of words, and you got to access what word? The word which is present at index 0, 1, 2. Okay, at the word which is present at index 2, if you access, you'll get the day of the week. Is that clear? So first you got to look for the line which are starting with from. So once you got the line, you got to split that line using space as the delimiter into words, list of words, and then access the third word from the list. That will give you the day of the week. Yes or no? This is what we have to do.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, list of words. So the lines I was talking. Now, where are those lines? So usually we do this on a large file, so when I have too many lines, say 10,000 lines or 20,000 lines or 1 lakh or 2 lakh lines. Now where will be those lines? Those lines will be in a text file, so you have all these lines in the file, so I cannot type them from the keyboard, so many lines. So what we are doing, so assuming I have so these types of lines in my file, so mailbox short.txt, okay, this is the name of the file, it's a .txt file. Now how do I open the file in Python? So there is a function called as open, okay. Now open is the function or the method which is available in Python to open the file. So similarly in C programming language you have used the library function fopen, okay. And this open, when you call fopen, say for example you are calling in C program, you will write fopen, right? So that fopen in turn makes a call to open, okay. So open is a system call, fopen is a library call. All library calls will make a call to the system calls. Now what are system calls? System calls are something like doors to enter into the kernel, or they are the entry points through which you can enter into the kernel, okay. So open is one such door using which you can enter into the kernel. So whenever you make a call to fopen, it in turn makes a call to open. What open do? It will open the file in the specified mode. So there are three modes in which you can open the file. You can open the file in read only mode, you can open the file in write only mode, you can open the file in the append mode or the read write mode, okay. So these are the three different modes in which the file can be opened. So you can ask me, sir, you have written open and you have just written the file name, where is the mode specified? So if you want to open the file in read only mode, okay, you don't have to write anything, okay. By default it will open the file always in read only mode. In case if I want to open the file in write mode, so then I have to add one more argument here, w, okay. So writing w here will open the file in the write only mode. So I want to open it in both the modes, read write mode, rw, okay, something like this. Now I'm interested in opening the file only in the read mode, so what happens if I put comma r? Nothing will happen, okay. So since it opens the file by default in read mode, you don't have to explicitly specify it. So remove that. Understood what open does? Are you people there?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now this is opening the file, okay. Now I have few things to tell here, with respect to the open, okay. So what open returns is the file handler. So fopen returns the file pointer, but what open returns is the file handler. This is basically an integer value, or you can say an handler to the file, okay, or file descriptor also you can say. Before I continue with the rest of the lines, okay, let me tell you one thing. I'll stop sharing and I'll just open the whiteboard. I'm sharing the whiteboard now. Oh, sorry, not this whiteboard. It's taking too much of time to open. I'll open. Okay, let me open Notepad. Okay. You could not start the presentation. I'll open Notepad, that is enough for me. Okay, I have opened. See, when dealing with files, okay, there are three tables what you have to understand. One is FDT, so which is nothing but file descriptor table. Another one is FT, file table, and one more table is there, Inode table. So these are the three tables which you should know, okay, to understand the file representation and its concept. Okay, so these are the three files: file descriptor table, file table, and inode table. Now this table, file descriptor table, is a per process table. What is the meaning of per process table? What does it mean?
It creates table for every process.
One second. Okay, so file descriptor table is a per process table. Okay, so that means for every process there is its own file descriptor table. So whereas this file table is a single system wide table. So one table, so the file table is a single table for the entire system, okay, for all the process. What about inode? Is also a system wide table. Okay, so this is a per process table what we have told. FDT is a per process table, and what it tracks all the files opened by that process. It tracks all the files opened by that particular process. Okay, what about this FT? It tracks all the files opened by all the processes in the system. Okay, tracks all the files opened by the processes in the system. Opened. So this FTT tracks all the files opened by that particular process. So FT tracks all the files opened by the processes in the entire system, and Inode Table tracks all the files in the entire system. What is the difference between FT and Inode Table? So this FT tracks only the files which are opened by all the processes in the system. So this Inode Table tracks all the files that exist in the system, irrespective whether it is open or not opened. So I hope you understood all these three files. Yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So all the three files, I hope you understood. So now this table, file descriptor table, so where this is present, this will be present at the process address space. Okay, because it tracks only the files opened by that particular process, and usually there are two address spaces. I hope all of you know this: process address space and kernel address space. So this file descriptor table, since it is the resource of a process, so it will be present in the process address space. The other two, FT and Inode table, so these are the system wide tables, and they are not the process resources, they are the kernel resources. Hence these two tables, they will be there inside the kernel. Okay, so these two tables, file table and Inode table, you will find them inside the kernel address space, whereas so this file descriptor table will be present at the process address space, and it is local to the process. Okay. Understood now this?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
So
sir.
next is, so whenever you write open, say you'll write it something like int fd is equal to open. Say I write some name, so file dot txt comma in read mode. Now what will happen is, whenever a process makes a call to open, a file descriptor table will be created for that process. An FTT will be created. So I'll just copy this and I'll open the Word because I want to insert a table. Control C. That whiteboard didn't open properly. I'll write here. Okay. I'll insert a table. Whenever a process makes a call to open by passing the file name and the mode in which it wants to be opened, so kernel will create a table for that process. It is called as file descriptor table. Okay. Insert table. I'll just say 2 columns and 3 rows. So this is what the file descriptor table that will be created. So first row, this is 0 std out, std in, and 1 std out, 2 is std error. Okay, so this is FDT, file descriptor table, created by the kernel or operating system to the process which makes a call to open. Now by default this FDT will have 3 entries. So this is the index value 0, so it is stdin, standard input keyboard, and 1 is the file descriptor or file handler for standard output device, that is monitor, and 2 is the file descriptor or handler for standard error. Now the process also wants to open one more file with the name file.txt. okay, it gets 3 and file.txt. so inside the file descriptor table, this is the entry allocated to the process. okay, and this open returns, now what it returns, 3. This is an integer value that is being written by the open system call to FD, and FD gets the value 3. So if the same process wants to open one more file, say for example int fd1 is equal to open file 2.txt, it wants to open the another file in read mode. Again what will happen, so operating system will start scanning this file descriptor table associated with the process from the beginning for the first unused entry. So 0 is used now, it is reserved for stdin, 1 is reserved for stdout, 2 is reserved for std error, and 3 for file.txt. Now where is the next unused entry, it is at the index value 4. So index value 4 will be reserved for file 2.txt, and this index is returned as fd1, okay, file descriptor for this particular process. Henceforth, so the process, once it gets the file handler for either to perform the read or the write operation on that particular file, instead of using the file name, so it will use the file descriptor. Hope you people understood? You understood the concept of file descriptor? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is what. Now if you know all these things, so all this information or data is required to understand the concepts of file, which I'll be teaching you now. Okay. Now what open does, so whenever the process makes a call to open, there is a table called as FDT, file descriptor table, created by the operating system to the process. Okay, and where is that table present? It is present inside the process address space. And what open returns is the index value of the first unused entry from the file descriptor table. So that gets assigned to this. And for line in fand, when I say this loop will iterate on every line which is present inside mbox short.txt. So many times it will repeat. So iterates over every line of this particular text file mbox short.txt. And next what we are doing, so line is equal to line.rstrip. okay, so we are write strip we are doing. Okay, I'll just show you here. So every line will have this slash n character. We are removing this from the end. And then if not, line dot starts with, there is a function, there is one more function which you can call on the strings, that is starts with. Okay, starts with, from, so continue. So you skip this iteration and go to the next iteration if the line is not starting from the pattern from. In case if the line is starting from the pattern from, so split that line using space as the delimiter and build the list of words and then access the word 2. Okay, so the word which is present at the index 2, so it will give you the day of the week. Hope you understood with this example. Not getting any response.
Understood, sir.
Understood? Okay. So now to execute this program, I have to create a file with the name mbox.short.txt. Okay, and this file should contain the line something like this. Okay, so we got to create it manually. So what we will do is we'll stop here and we'll execute this program in the next class. Okay, I'll create a sample text file which contains lines something like this, some lines starting with from and some lines not starting with from, and we will execute this program and then we will try to get the day of the week. Okay, print it. So if you have any queries, you can ask me. Any queries?
No, sir.
Okay, then we'll end the meeting and we'll join again Monday. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.